Hello, my friends. Welcome back. In the previous videos, we talked about the HTML and told you that HTML is the basic. It's the structure of a web page. Now we want to move on to the CSS. CSS is short for cascading style sheets, right? It is actually used to format the layout of a web page. We said that if you want to make your HTML web page look prettier, then this is like when you actually use the CSS. You can use that to, as you can see here, control the color, font size, spacing between different HTML elements, and positioning of the elements, as well as changing the background colors and the background images. Excuse me. Let's say that you want to add like a watermark to your web page or something. And also, for different websites, like it says, if this website was, I don't know, being shown on a phone, then like use this layout. If it was shown on a computer, then use this layout and stuff like that. So this is like everything that the CSS can be used for. Now, how can we add the CSS to an HTML file, right? There are three different ways of doing that, each of which has their own advantages and disadvantages. So we have to learn all three. When I say we have to learn all three, it's honestly like super easy, as you will see in a second. But you need to know about all three so that you can choose the one that actually is the best option for you. The first option is inline CSS. The next one would be internal CSS. And the last one would be external CSS. So in inline CSS, how can we do that? Let's say you have an HTML element, such as h1, right? A heading, right? Before, like as you can see here, you put your text here, like just like before, nothing strange. But inside the tag, that's why it's called inline, because it happens in the same line. Inside the tag, you just go style, and then you do something. For example, this example, I go style, color is red, right? That's how I do that. And then like you can do that for different elements as well. Like you have a paragraph, then like you can change the color of the paragraph and do this and that with that using this CSS, using the inline CSS. What's the use case of the inline CSS? Well, it's actually useful for adding HTML. It's useful for like if you want to add something to just like one HTML element, right? Then it's like very useful. But if you're looking at a web page, you're probably using a lot of HTML elements. You don't want to change them all like one by one, right? You don't want to add this, for example, style equals color red for like all the headers, for example. So when it comes to that, it's not just practical. The other solution would be internal CSS. An example of which would be something like this. It still happens in the same HTML file, but we create a section we call style. And then, for example, there we go h3, and then like color is green. So it looks for all the elements, all the h3 elements in your HTML file, and change the color for those to green, right? Much more practical than the first version, but the limitation of this method would be that it's only useful for applying changes to one HTML document, right? So if you have like a multi-page website, then you're kind of screwed. Like you cannot really do anything about it. You have to repeat the changes for, different pages manually. And so again, if you have a multi-page website, then this probably is not for you. And but if it's a one-page thingy, then be my guest and just like enjoy this method. And the external CSS finally is like when you have a file, like you have as you can see here, you go style.css, like you have created this file, and then like you can use it for as many as like HTML web pages as you want, right? It just works, no problem. You just like call it using this href, right? And use case, as I said, like it's meant for web pages with more than one HTML page. So that's about it. And let's see how we can actually use that. For the first one, for the inline CSS method, let's go, for example, I want to go here and I want to go, for example, my H2. Okay. And so this is an example, for example. As you can see, like you can see here, it's a header and it's in black. We want to change the color here. We just go here and say style. It auto completes it for me. And I just go color. There is a lot of options. Like if you want, you can explore all those options. But like these are some of the like most common ones. So I just go color and it gives me a list of all the available colors, right? Like it's a huge list. And I don't know, you want to change it to something aqua, for example, right? As you can see, the color has changed and it shows you like a square here with the color as well. So it's kind of cool. So this is about the inline, and as you can see here, if we want to change the color so it's something that we can actually see, we can just go red, for example, right? So this is the first method. The second method was the internal CSS method, right? If you remember, I told you that we want to create a section called style. How do we do that? If you open an HTML file, like any HTML file from like any website, right? They have a format, like there is a standard format for that. What is that? It's this format in here, right? So it's like a doc type is HTML, language is in English, and then like there is a head section. And don't worry about all these. For now, we don't really want to do anything in here, but we'll get to this later. But this is where we want to have our style, right? How did I make this happen? Like if you create an HTML file, if you go exclamation mark, right? And then I just go enter and it gives me all of these, right? So I want to delete these in the head and then I want to go style, right? If I close it, it automatically closes it. So it's like a tag, like a regular tag. But inside the tag, I can actually just go, for example, if you saw an H2, right? Then for these H2, and then you open curly brackets and you say, for example, color is, I don't know, like, not Collins, but color is blue, for example, right? And then when it goes to the body, this is like very actually like the HTML code goes, and it looks for all the H2s and change the color to blue, right? So if I go here and say, for example, P for a paragraph, color is, I don't know, red, right? And if I go here and I go H3, right? I'm just going to go test one, for example. As you can see, it's not on H2, so it's printing it in black, right? And if I go H2, for example, now, right? When I go test 2, obviously this is in blue, right? And if I go here and say, for example, P for a paragraph, and this is test 3, for example, right? As you can see, this is printed in red, the things that we defined up here. So just as easy as that. So that's why I'm saying like it is only applicable to one HTML, because if you're like tying it to this HTML page, whatever comes in here would take the changes that we applied in the style section. Okay, so far so good, all clear. And the final method of adding a CSS file to an HTML or like to many HTML files was the external, right? In the external, I want to do the same thing. I want to create my file, right? This is my header. And instead of having style section here, I want to have something else. I just want to go link, right? And what do I want to link here? I just want to go, for example, there's a rel that I'm just going to go, for example, style sheet. This is basically the role of what we're adding. We was just like linking another file to this HTML file. And what is that file supposed to do? It's supposed to be a style sheet. We're just going to look at that and see how we're going to style our web page, right? And you can give it whatever name that you want. And href, which is like basically the link to that file, like what's the address, what's the relative address of that file. And so we have to create a new file here. If I go here and say, for example, style.css, okay, and now I have a style.css file in the same directory. So if I go here and go style, and like it finds the file for me, and says, yeah, sure, use this style.css, right? And then I can put whatever I want here, right? I can go h1, this is h1, not hg1, but h1, and then I just want to copy that a few times, right? And I'm gonna go h2, h3, h4, the tags, the ending tags as well, and then I want to go p, right? And this is a paragraph, right? And so as you can see, the style.css file, the one that we created, it's empty, so it's not doing anything for us. And I'm just like adding some headers and like a paragraph, and it says like everything is in black, nothing has changed, right? So what we can do here though is to go here, and then in our style.css file, and I want to go, for example, h1, basically the same format that we did for internal CSS, right? h1 curly brackets, and what's wrong with this? Okay, color equals blue, for example, right? So our h1 is in blue now. I want to go, for example, h2. Well, h2, let's keep that in black. h3 color is, I don't know, green, yellow, green, gray, whatever, green, for example. As you can see, the color changed here. Now it's in green. And you can do the same thing for a paragraph as well. One cool thing would be like to have body, for example, right? Because if you remember here, we had a body, right? So we can apply something to like this whole body. So if I go here and go body, so this is like not a made up name, just like h1 is not made up or h3 is not made up. Body is like what we define in our HTML file. And I just want to go, for example, background color, right? Our background color is something, let's say beige. As we can see, like the background color changed here. You can also like, you can do whatever, like if it wasn't obvious, I can go green and yellow. So like it's more obvious now. So now I have this style.css file. And if I have like thousands of like HTML files, I can just like easily add that. And it just like brings the styling over. So this is really helpful. Let's say you want to design something, you put a lot of time like to make things pretty and say, okay, my h1 would be in this size and like in this color and then blah, 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 blah. So you want to apply that to all your HTML files because like this is your style, right? So you can just like have the style.css file and just like call it here or like link your HTML file to that. That's everything that I wanted to tell you today. Hopefully this video was useful. In next videos, we just like start playing with different options that we have, like changing the font or like the size of the things and stuff like that. But it was important before jumping to those, we know like what are the different types of like, what are the different ways of adding the CSS to an HTML file. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like it. It's going to help me a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss the next videos when we upload them. And thank you for watching me. You guys have a good one. See you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.